Hi, my name is Deon Rebello, and I'm the CEO of DCX Bullion. Welcome to the DCX Bullion Vault. And this is our second installment of our podcast, and we are looking to carry this on a weekly basis going forward. And we're quite excited. I've got Willem Theron, who is with us today. How are you doing, Willem?
Good news, Dion.
Good. Just to sum up quickly before we get into the main part of the discussion today is just on the news. I know we're heading towards the end of 2024. Already the predictions or what are the analysts are saying for gold for 2025. I saw old Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com. They were had an interview, which we'll share the link on that also, where they're talking about gold possibly going to $10,000 an ounce. If you told me that a year ago, I would have said you're crazy. But based on where we are in the world, the uncertainty, both geopolitically and economically, it is very possible. But again, I think that's not what we're going to focus more on today. I just wanted to also just quickly sum up quickly where the gold price has been. So after the US election, there was a big pull down where it went under $2,500 an ounce. It's recovered quite nicely and it's been quite lateral. It did a bit of a peak to 2.7 and a pullback now, but it's definitely building momentum to go into the new year where we're going to see gold hitting 2,800, 2,300. What's your thoughts?
Well, definitely, I see the World Gold Council predicted about 3,000 ounce for next year. Um, they seem to be quite conservative in general. I mean, I think they predicted something like $1,800 an ounce for this year, which, as we now know, is extremely conservative. Um, yeah, gold has outperformed our expectations. I think we have mentioned that we were expecting around about 2,200, 2,300 maybe,
Yeah.
and obviously we saw 2,700 twice this year. And yeah, it's once again it's just people rushing to safe haven investing, which gold is probably the number one commodity for safe haven investing with geopolitical tensions. This situation in Syria, Russia, Israel. It's a hot pot at the moment, and people are looking for that safe haven to invest their money in.
Yes, and I think the other big thing is economically, things have been building up, and if you see what the outlook economically, and I'm talking globally for 2025, it's not looking good. We bordering on within the US on a recession. We've always said that we do believe there has to be some major correction slash recession slash depression. And I think 2025 is going to be quite a pivotal year with regards to that.
Definitely. I mean, during the COVID era, they were literally just printing money in the US. I think it was something like there were more money was printed during 2020 than the rest of the US history combined. It was absolutely insane, and you're not just going to get away with that. At some point, there
Yeah.
has to be the repercussions of that, and as we all know, you can't just print money and expect to get yourself out of trouble that way. We look at Zimbabwe; they were printing money, and they ended up with, I think it was trillions of Zim dollars to the US dollar, and yeah, definitely, it's worldwide. I think economies are still very fragile. It's going to take a long time to recover, but I do believe there are ways that you can mitigate the risks and protect yourself and your personal wealth.
You've actually pretty much summed up the next topic that I wanted to raise in our news feature, which was there was an article in CBS News, I think it was on the 13th of December, and we will share the link for that. But it was very much geared at the American market. And what they were saying is they said the three gold products that would be best for a beginner to consider for 2025. And what was interesting is they spoke about little 1 gram bars, 1 ounce bars, and then gold rounds, which we know as medallions. Now, what's interesting is in South Africa, it's a little bit different. Maybe just expand on that for our listener.
Yeah. So in South Africa, we do have the gold bars as well, but I think what we're familiar with is the Kruger Rand. Now, the thing about the Kruger Rand is, of course, that it's a sovereign coin. It is the same as the money in your wallet, your 5 Rand coin, your 10 Rand note. It technically belongs to the government. You own the value of the coin, but the coin itself technically belongs to the government, which leads to a bunch of regulations and a bunch of problems. If you want to go abroad, you can only take out X amount of Kruger Rands with you. And so there are two ways around that, as you said, the gold bars and then the gold rounds or medallions. Now, the gold bars is a bit of a tough one because there's a lot of regulation surrounding that as well, in terms of the way that that item is presented. Firstly, they need to be serialized. They need to be kept in tamper-proof packaging. It's a bit of a pain, to be honest. And then you have the medallions, which they are classified as jewelry, and as a result, they don't have the same stringent regulations surrounding them as the Kruger Rands and the actual gold bars, which, in my opinion, makes it a much better investment for the average man on the street. You can get them in any size from 1 gram all the way up to 1 kilogram, and they're available in gold, they're available in silver. It's in my opinion, just a much better investment option. So yeah, I mean, as I said, you've got them all the way from 1 gram all the way up to 1 kilogram medallions, and gives you a big option. You've got them in silver, you've got them in gold, and it just opens up the possibilities of the range of investment that you can look at. It's literally, it's for everyone. It's from somebody who can only afford 1 gram of silver all the way up to somebody who can actually invest in 1 kilogram of gold.
And I think that's the important thing. I mean, we as a company, we offer the full range from a gram in gold, silver, right up to a kilogram in gold and 2 kilograms in silver. So we've covered all of those. And again, just the other thing on Kruger Rands is they are a sovereign coin. They are legal tender. And those have, as you say, they have a lot of regulation around them as a South African limitation on how many you can take out of the country and so on. But where, as you said, with medallions, the lovely thing there, and just recapping on what you said, is there is no serialized numbers. You can take 1, you can take 50. I've personally traveled with a large quantity of gold medallions, and there was never ever an issue. And again, you don't need any paperwork in that. It's considered jewelry, as you said, and falls into that category quite nicely. Yet they are 24 karat gold. So it's the best quality of gold you can get right from a gram all the way up. Just talking about medallions and that, I want to go into our latest thing, which we started developing, interestingly enough, this time last year. And, we had mentioned the story briefly where we had considered to move away from the standard within this country of the big 5. And we then spoke about the endangered species. And we then built it up. We got a great artist involved, which I definitely also want you to share a link of that video of her backstory, how she fits into the picture, and the plan we have going forward and the different animals we're going to use. So the first animal we've actually done, and we can show an image of that, is the pangolin. And we do it in gold, silver, or platinum, currently just in an ounce. But as things start to develop further, we will then start to range it up into the bigger size medallions and range it down into the smaller size to make it economical. But also the whole focus here is we want to start highlighting the plight of a lot of endangered species, which don't necessarily get the coverage of what the big 5 would get.
No, that's true. As you said, it's the standard in South Africa is the big 5. And I mean, I can understand that. They are iconic. They are a symbol of Africa. And but yes, we thought we'd do something a little bit differently. And the first one we've done is Temming's pangolin, or the ground pangolin. And the reason why we chose the pangolin is that I don't think many people are extremely familiar with it. They might have seen one here or there. They might know about it. But they are such fascinating creatures. And the sad thing is that they are also endangered. There's 8 species of pangolin. I think 4 of them are critically endangered. 2 of them are endangered. And then 2 of them are classified as vulnerable. And it's so sad because they are a staple in the bushmeat trade. They're considered a delicacy. Um, their scales are being used for medicine across the world, and it's silly. I mean, it's keratin. It's the same as a rhino horn. It's literally, you could as well be chewing on your fingernails. That's what it's made out of, and yet they are being hunted. They are being trafficked. Most trafficked mammal in the world
Yeah.
for these scales and for their meat, and it's really sad. And one of the things that we are trying to do is raise awareness about these animals. I mean, as you mentioned, we've got a few more to come, and the next one I'll give a little bit of a sneak preview is the African wild dog, which is also an endangered species, and we're going to go. We've got a whole range of endangered animals lined up, animals that you wouldn't normally think of first and foremost, but I think they're beautiful. Some of them are extremely cute, and I think just having something different than the normal big five is something that we as a company, we try and make ourselves unique. We try and make our products unique, and this is our latest. Um, Now, interesting facts about the pangolin. What do you know about pangolins?
Well, I know that the pangolin that we've chosen is known as the African ground pangolin, named after the person that discovered him or her or it. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I know that they are the most trafficked animal or mammal, as you said, on the planet, and they are ranged throughout the different continents throughout the world. Some are tree climbing, some are on the ground, and so on. They are nocturnal mostly. Yeah. So, what other facts would be
it's
of
it,
interest?
it's interesting. Yeah, there's if I'm correct, eight species of pangolin found across the world. Now, some of them are found in Asia. I think there's two species that are found in Africa. I'm not 100% sure on the exact location of all of them, but yeah, here in South Africa we have the ground pangolin or Temminck's pangolin, and it's quite interesting if you look at some of the things about the pangolins. Well, firstly, they're the only mammal to have large scales, and interestingly, they have a tongue that is actually longer than their body, and it's actually connected by their pelvis. It's
Oh
not
wow.
connected in their mouth. Um, Additionally, they don't have any teeth, so they actually swallow stones, and then their stomach has a spiny lining which helps them to digest their food. And speaking of food, one adult pangolin can eat up to as many as 70 million insects in a year, which makes them invaluable for pest control as well. And that's one thing that I think a lot of the communities that are involved in the bushmeat trade, that are involved in selling the scales for medicine and the like, don't always realize how what an incredibly crucial role these pangolins play in the ecosystem. Um, and the sad thing is, the Asian pangolins have been hunted to almost extinction, and now the demand from the supply side is turning to Africa, and that's targeting the pangolins found in Africa, like Temminck's pangolin, which currently is vulnerable. But I mean, I think it was 20,000 pangolins being trafficked annually, and I mean, I'm sure you can understand it's only a matter of time before those numbers run out. And conservation is one of the things foremost on our minds. We want to team up with conservation efforts, and that is all of a part of our new range, is to create the awareness, is to create the conservation for these animals.
And you know, you mentioned, and part of our project of 2025 with endangered species is to reach out to the different personalities and people within the different animals that they are support or working towards raising awareness. We have earmarked a certain individual that we definitely want to get hold of and chat to, and also just you know have a second part to this discussion where we can talk more on the pangolin. But yes, I think 2025 is going to be very exciting. The next animal is the
African wild dog.
correct. And the nice thing with the African wild dog, again, it is a vulnerable animal. And it has, it is definitely on the endangered list. And it's at a point where if conservation, if we cannot get their numbers up, they will become extinct eventually. And just again, we've been quite busy with the development work on producing a dye. And anyone that ever wants to understand the process, what we'll actually probably do is we'll do a video on from start to finish what it takes to make a coin like this. And as you can see, that's the pangolin, and it gives the image there. On the reverse, it will give you the what it is: gold, silver. Now, the interesting thing is it doesn't just start like that. It starts with an idea, and that idea becomes an image, and that image then becomes a die, and the die then presses the gold or the silver or the platinum and then produces a round or a medallion.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it starts with an idea, and I think we were sitting one day and we were just brainstorming new ideas, and the endangered species series popped up. And I can't remember what made us think of the pangolin first, but it was always our first thought was the pangolin. And now that we have the pangolin, we're moving on to the others. But as you said, it starts with an idea, and then from there, what we actually did was our first efforts didn't go too well. It didn't turn out very well. We actually made it all the way through. We had the lead pressing, and we looked at it and we thought, no, we've got to do better. And then that's when we realized most of the medallions that are being produced was hand drawn by artists, the images that you see on them. And while as we were working from a photo, a computer, just a digital photo. And so we took that idea, we went to see an artist, and she actually suggested that we look into AI for the basic design of it. And unfamiliar with AI, we quickly got up to speed, and we produced the first concept ideas for this. And they actually look quite different from what we eventually ended up on. But we took these ideas, we presented them to Tatum, and she then started drawing. And once we had that drawing, we then created the final image of what we would like the coin to look like, and then sent that off to the manufacturer, who creates a 3D image of it, which is eventually cut into a die, and then the die is pressed onto the metal. So it's quite a process. I've seen the renders for the new Wild Dog, and it looks phenomenal. It's going to be a beautiful one.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, as just of course we gone into the festive period, and before we had actually closed down, we were with the 3D designer, the rendering part, and seeing the image. We initially got a photograph of it via our phones, and we looked at it. We thought, oh, this looks terrible. But we were looking at a 3D image that was flattened. But as soon as we were able to rotate it in the computer and twist it, you started to see more of the facets. I mean, it is first draft. There's a lot of work to be done on it. We're working mainly on the hairlines and making the ears more pronounced and so on. And this is exciting. I mean, when I first started this business, I never believed that we'd get to this point of actually manufacturing coins and medallions. And this process, and I've mentioned it before, was I always wanted to make sure that what we did was different and that was leading within the current market. And I do believe our product is definitely streets ahead of what's currently available. That is my opinion, and I'll stand by that, and I'm quite happy with it. And I'm excited.
No, definitely, it's one of the most important things to us as a company is to produce, to present to our clients the best work that we possibly can. And as I said, the first drafts we got, we looked at it and we went, oh my goodness, what have we done? And it took a lot of work. It took almost 6 months for us to get the pangolin to a point where we could say we are proud to present this to our clients.
Yeah, and I think, for us, as we mentioned, 2025 is going to be an unbelievable year for us. I'm very excited. There's a lot of exciting things that are going to happen in 2025. Again, we are a big believer in gold, in precious metals, in bullion as a safe haven, as a way of mitigating what happens with inflation and currency devaluations. And we're going to cover that on a number of different episodes where we're going to go and unpack those things. We've done various case studies. But the foundation of everything we're chatting about is that gold as an asset class has massive value in the world we're living in right now.
No, definitely, and I think 2025 it'll continue to grow. We'll see how things progress. It might jump up a lot depending on what happens worldwide in the geopolitical sector with the wars going on, still raging on across the world. It's tense times, and I think there's going to be continue being a demand for safe haven investing, in particular in gold. I mean, we saw China adding, I think it was 130 million ounces for the first time in a couple of months in November, which means there's still appetite, even from governments.
Yeah, and I think in our next installment of the Bullion Vault, I did say that right, eh?
Yes.
But our next installment of that, I definitely want us to just do a quick review of 2024. I think it's going to be quite simple. We know what gold did. It's the best top performing asset. Silver has a great story, which I definitely want to unpack next time. Because there's that gold silver ratio that's been spoken about, and that needs to be corrected to a certain level. And then we're going to see silver's real value. And then again, platinum, which has been the poorer performer, but 2 years ago was the top performer. And there's still a lot of hope for platinum as well. So I think in the next installment, we're going to unpack just the precious metals, how they performed over 2024. And then we're going to look into 2025. We don't have a silver crystal ball to have what it is or what it will be. But again, I think what we had projected, and you'd mentioned it earlier, $2,250, $2,300 an ounce. It grew considerably above that. It's definitely hitting resistance lines around 2.8, 2.7. But we know that that's gearing up for another big jump upward. So I'm very excited. I think we're going to have a nice, quick show on that, and we can really unpack that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as you said, we don't have a crystal ball. If we knew exactly what it was going to do and when, we would literally be the richest men on earth.
I always think of Back to the Future when Marty stole the calendar book on all the betting. Yeah. And he went back into the future, but then he went in an alternate future where he became bad and corrupted. And yet, he was able to predict every single race over the next 40, 50 years. Unfortunately, it's not going to be that.
No. I mean, we look at some of the absolute top institutions in the world. They don't get it right.
No.
The World Gold Council doesn't get it right, so it is extremely unpredictable. And I guess eventually it comes down to we're going to have to wait and see.
Willem, thanks for your time. We will connect next week, and just take care over the festive period, and God bless. Cheers.
Cheers.